Pepe, so as you were coming on, I get this on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
There it is right there. Let me change this. You see it in the middle. So this is something, the one in the middle is something that I usually don't get. I don't know if you can see it.
You know what? I'm reading something very similar on my phone. Is
it's
this
confirmed.
the IRGC Navy warning to all vessels in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman in Farsi and in English? Probably it's the same thing.
Yes, that happened. No, that happened. So the warning. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead. They said all ships will be struck.
Yep. They said the Strait of Hormuz is now closed. All ships will be struck.
Exactly.
And there's also been missile alerts in Dubai an hour ago.
Dubai. Exactly.
Yeah, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. That was an hour ago. But now again in a few seconds ago as well. I'm trying to get more information on this. There was a flight as well that was landing in Dubai International Airport that had to redirect. So I don't know whether the missile threat was close to the airport or went through the airspace there. We don't know what has been targeted. There's reports of 2 explosions. The UAE's Ministry of Defense says Iran launched 4 cruise missiles towards the country, with 3 intercepted over territorial waters and the 4th falling into the sea.
Okay, let's go for the big picture. Okay, the most important thing. The so-called American blockade was blockaded today by the IRGC. I'm sure all of you, our audience, you've seen the new map. The new map is absolutely outstanding. I put it on my X account, so probably you also did, Mario. Basically, it's UAE ports are now blockaded by the IRGC Navy. So this means essentially blockading not only the UAE, but everybody else, Kuwait, Bahrain, etc. So this is a much larger area than just around the Qasem Island in the Iranian territorial waters and around it. This goes to the other side as well. And in terms of the UAE, now they are caged in. There's nowhere else to go. And that includes Fujairah. Fujairah is now inside the limits of the IRGC Navy blockade. So this is escalation trap on both sides. It's immensely dangerous. So we cannot possibly expect the Americans to send destroyers, anything, to the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, because they will be sunk. Generals in the Pentagon know that. This is off limits for them. So how are they going to they will continue to enforce their blockade down there in the extremities of the Gulf of Oman, actually the Arabian Sea or the Southern Indian Ocean. It's not working because a lot of tankers are going back and forth, Iranian linked and others as well. But this move by the IRGC Navy is they have been telegraphing this move for a few days. No U.S. military vessels will be allowed near the Strait of Hormuz or in the Persian Gulf for that matter. So what are we going to have? Are we going to have a sort of a Gulf of Tonkin remixed? Like a false flag that would enable the U.S. to launch another devastating attack that is going to last, what, 3-4 days? And then that's it. There's no more weapons. Is this going to change the situation on the ground and the big picture geopolitically? Of course not. Iran will not fold, period. So now it's a battle of wills. And when it comes to the government, when it comes to the whole apparatus of the government, and if you look carefully at what people who are very close to the deciding circles, and some of them, the usual suspects. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm getting another alert.
Do you need? Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I don't need to. Wow. Iran is pissed at the UAE.
Well, and
That's
vice
nothing right
versa.
here.
They're pissed at each other because let's go straight to the point. For all practical purposes, the UAE is at war against Iran. They are directly at war. There's no, there's no going around it. And Iran, for the moment, they have been very, they are measuring how they're going to respond because they have evidence of everything that was launched using bases in the UAE or a direct UAE input in terms of some of their aircraft. They have all that data in detail. They have not responded yet. So this blockade of a UAE ports de facto today by the IRGC Navy is the first step. There's going to be more stuff coming. And now we are right in the middle of the worst possible escalation trap from both sides. So the IRGC Navy game is very, very clear. The whole area around in the Persian Gulf, around the Strait of Hormuz, north, around, and south, that's it. It's totally blockaded for hostile ships and for American military vessels. How is the US going to respond to that? Any response is this means a firefight is inevitable, which nobody wants this, apart from the usual suspects. We don't need to say who they are, right? So it's very, very worrying. It's very, very worrying because there's no. It's once again the way this thing is not evolving. It's the death of diplomacy. The Iranians have been trying to maintain a semblance of diplomacy. They sent these 14 points. Okay, it changes. There were 5 points, then 10 points, then back to 3. Now it's 14. But it's basically the same message. And everybody who's following the story in West Asia and around, they know that, okay, the 3 main points in that order. First of all, to end the war, and not only the war against Iran, but the war against the axis of resistance as a whole. Number 2, we will discuss the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, they are already discussing with Oman. We're probably going to have 2 toll booths, one in Iran and one in Oman. That's it. Because, of course, these are not international waters. These are territorial waters of Iran and Oman.
But there's another missile attack. Another missile attack now.
Another missile attack from
they're going off at the UAE, from Iran, yeah. Right
from
now.
Iran against the UAE?
Yeah, another one. 2 and 15, 17 minutes.
Mario, this could be the beginning of their response to the UAE being de facto aligned with
so
US
they struck
against them.
They struck Iranian missile struck a cargo vessel 36 nautical miles north of Dubai, approximately off the coast of Ajman, where the explosions were heard.
Well, that's
so it, that they're targeting
inside the perimeter of the new blockade. Probably the Iranians interpreted that this vessel was trying to turn right, and with of course turn right towards the Sea of Oman without registering with the IRGC Navy. They already said that over and over again. You cannot do that. Well, everybody is respecting. International tankers are respecting that. Why one or two are not? So it's a provocation. They see it as a provocation. Very dangerous. Yeah. Very, very dangerous. So, coming back to those 3 main points. Number 1, end of all wars. Number 2, discussion about Hormuz. And number 3, discussion about the nuclear dossier, which is not a priority for the Iranians. It's a priority for Trump. It's a completely different story. And he tore up the original JCPOA. And even if we have a new nuclear deal, it's going to be a sort of JCPOA 2.0 or a sort of diluted JCPOA. It's going to be very similar to the previous one that he destroyed. Completely crazy. It's the same logic of taking 20 years to substitute the Taliban with the Taliban. That's what it's going to do. You're going to substitute the JCPOA with another JCPOA. Anyway,
it is insane that it is crazy that we're here. Just, I'm going to ask you a question. Sorry, a question on sorry, go ahead. A question on what you said earlier. So you're saying the Iran response to the Operation Freedom by Trump is that so they sent warning strikes against the U.S. ships, but instead of striking U.S. ships, because if they strike U.S. warships, then they offer justification for the U.S. to attack Iran. So what they're doing instead is attacking the Gulf, pressuring Iran indirectly, asymmetric warfare.
Absolutely. But that's the thing. Mario, I'm always, okay, I've seen a lot of stupidity in my professional life, but coming from Washington, these people still don't understand the principles of asymmetric war. In fact, since Vietnam, they haven't learned shit. Of course it's asymmetric. The Iranians are not going to fall into the trap of this Gulf of Tonkin 2.0 remix, because they know that if they strike an American destroyer head on, that's the casus belli. They're not going to do that. Of course not. Of course not.
They struck the so as you said, Iranian drones impacted the Fujairah oil industry zone. The Fujairah media office reported where the major office has broken.
Of course. And they had telegraphed once again for days that Fujairah, it's inside our perimeter of response. And of course, their blockade now includes Fujairah. The new line goes all the way to the south of Fujairah. So this
Why did they expand the blockade? Is that a response? Is that a response to what Trump is doing? Just to expand the blockade now.
It is exactly. It was one day after the Trump humanitarian, between commas, blockade, which everybody saw for what it is. It's just another, basically co-opting terminology. There's nothing humanitarian about it. It's to set up a trap. And they did not fall into the trap. In fact, they trapped the Gulf. They trapped the number one Arab Israel player, the UAE, which we could call ZAE, Zionist United Emirates, which, by the way, are not all the Emirates. For instance, Sharjah has nothing to do with that. We're talking about Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And the other five, they are not playing this game at all. They're completely outside. But MBZ, once again, Mario, this is a very, very, very tricky character. Tricky, diplomatic. And he made his bet, this thing of exiting OPEC and OPEC Plus, because he thinks that he will be protected by the US-Israel axis. He won't. He won't. Of course not. But this bet was made years ago, we can say. Abraham Accords, 1.4 trillion or whatever, pledged to invest in the American economy, building lots of data centers in the Emirates, you name it. So this was MBZ's bet, which is very different from MBS's bet.
Alarms again in Dubai and Abu Dhabi just now, apparently.
Alarms again. Oh, so this thing can go on for quite a while. Absolutely.
Holy shit.
Mario, this is a warning. It's a warning not only to Abu Dhabi, but also to the US. Okay, you wanna play here in the
That is crazy.
Exactly.
That is crazy, Pepe. That is crazy.
Yeah.
It is. Iran is in a very different state of mind than it was throughout what it was before the war. The Iran now is different to the one with the war. They're, for lack of a better term, they're not taking any shit. They're responding. Trump decided to test opening the Strait of Hormuz. They've made their stance clear, but they were very strategic with it. They're striking the Gulf, the one where they can cause the one they found to be most aligned with the US, and one that was the easiest target to have to have an impact on the global economy and on US interests, and that is the UAE. And now it's the ball's in Trump's court now. And
on top of it, Mario, because the UAE is at technically they are at war against Iran. So no holds barred between both. Absolutely. The problem for everybody else is this escalation trap is back, and it's getting worse literally by the minute. Today it got worse the whole day, and now it's at night. Of course, things starts to stuff starts to blow up. Right?
Multiple ballistic and cruise missiles fired launches from southern Iran around the Bushehr area. Air defenses are active in the UAE.
They are launched from Bushehr, yes, because they have a lot of launchers still in that area, underground, which have not been touched by the Americans. Absolutely, yeah, and it's very, very close on top of it. So this is it. We are right in the middle of escalation trap. And another thing that it's mind-boggling. We need to backtrack to what happened last week. Putin picked up the phone after the meeting with IRGC in St. Petersburg, which lasted an hour and a half. Putin never gives an hour and a half to a foreign minister from anywhere. Even Wang Yi doesn't get an hour and a half. And he gave it to IRGC because IRGC was explaining in detail the Iranian position to Putin. What does he do immediately afterwards? He picks up the phone, he calls Trump, another hour and a half, over an hour and a half, and he explains to Trump in detail the Iranian position with, of course, a warning. This is what we got from the Kremlin transcript, from Ushakov himself. It's been circulating in Russian media. Of course, not as hardcore as it probably was, but basically Putin warning Trump, if you do anything funny militarily against Iran again, you're going to be in a much worse position than you are already now. Did Trump listen to it? No, he didn't. He's doubling down. There you go. That's
the sky over Bushehr. There's photos. This is the sky over Bushehr area. This is Bushehr in southern Iran. This is, by the way, that's the best way to explain it. The escalation trap. So these are the cruise missiles being fired.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Let me just take a look here.
I'll get it. Yeah. I'll get my producer Lisa. If you could put this on screen for
that'll be nice.
The audience. Hold on. Let me send it to you, Lisa. There it is. This is it. That's the first one.
So the missiles, according to the Iranians, the missile struck a cargo vessel 36 nautical miles north of Dubai. That's very, very far from Dubai, actually.
But there's alerts
predicting the UAE. The UAE said they intercepted 3 missiles and a forced landing in open waters. The Iranians said no. And they also said that drones impacted Fujairah. Of course, it's confirmed that the drones hit Fujairah.
Several government oh wow.
Okay.
Several reports indicate the several government facilities and military headquarters in Iran are being evacuated in anticipation of renewed U.S.-Israeli strikes.
Yeah, so this means that the Americans are probably going to strike tonight. Escalation trap all the way. Yeah. Will that solve anything? That's the key question for all of us. No, it won't. Is this going to change any of the 14 points that were boiled down to 3 that were sent to the US via the Pakistanis again, and Trump rejected them? No, it's not going to change anything. Will that be a major disaster for the global economy? Yes, an added global disaster for everyone.
That's the images from over the skies of southern Tehran.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's just the warning. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Like how things, just by the way, you're talking, I like how you've just explained exactly what it is. It's the escalation trap. But it's the escalation trap on steroids. Like it hasn't even been 24 hours since Operation Freedom by Trump.
Yes, exactly.
But Iran, why did Iran go? Like they've escorted 2 ships. That is a pretty significant response from Iran. It's not like they fired a warning shot against one of the ships. They didn't stop there. They didn't wait in case the US escorts more. They've attacked the UAE with multiple rounds of ballistic missiles. Not a warning shot, one missile. They've attacked a few ships. There's at least 3 or 4 ships that were attacked, apparently. All UAE owned. Iran is only focusing on the UAE right now.
Absolutely.
Only focusing on the UAE. And they've struck ship in Oman, the Fujairah oil port. They've struck another cargo ship off Sharjah, I think it was, and another one in Fujairah, from what I understand, if I got everything correct. Wow.
Because
that is significant.
Essentially because they are at war, Mario. And on top of it, how do they think? It's incremental. And they have been giving signs for the past few days. Anything that the Americans try, and if they try to come to the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf as a whole, the response is going to be immediate. So their counter blockade today is an immediate response, and already in 2 stages. The first one was to, okay, this is the new map. And the second one is, okay, we're going after you, Emirates. For the moment, light, but soon it can become really highway to hell. And they can do this as they want. They were ready to go, and they have been saying, our fingers are on the trigger. The problem is, when they say something, they are not threatening. They say something that has already been gamed and ready to go.
So what do you think? How do you think the US will respond now? Tricky question.
Very tricky question, because if they respond with a mini shock and awe against Iran, oh my God, the counterpunch is going to be brutal. And it will involve everything from missiles against American vessels, wherever they are, Sea of Oman, Arabian Sea, whatever. They have missiles to hit these vessels anywhere. And especially now against UAE. And then we are not on escalation trap. Then we are on hardcore escalation nonstop.
I'm going to show you the...
Who can possibly want that? Only the usual suspects, right? It's always the same thing. How can a president that is already immensely unpopular, who's going to become a lame duck, is practically certain? Americans are pissed about this war. They can see in their wallets. Why double down like this? And you think you're going to have a result in 2 or 3 days? You think you're going to get a result that you can take to Xi Jinping next Thursday in Beijing and tell Xi Jinping, look, I'm winning in Iran. The Chinese are going to laugh him off the table. They're already doing that.
That's Fujairah now.
Fujairah, huh? Yeah. So they probably hit one of the oil terminals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the oil price is up to $105. Just picked up from, it was $100. It was...
Yes, soon it's going to get 120. If it goes on like this, it's going to be 120 tomorrow.
Now, is it fair to say if Trump does not respond militarily, if he does not strike Iran, or if it's a symbolic strike, is it fair to say that Trump, under no circumstances, wants a continuation of the war? Because this is his perfect opportunity to go full scorched earth. Because he could say Iran, without being attacked the UAE, an allied state, and then there's images and videos of Fujairah burning unprovoked. So that seems like the perfect justification for Trump. And if he doesn't take it, would it be fair to say that Trump does not want to continue this war?
There are 2 possibilities, Mario. One, he cannot, don't forget, he is always trying to, I'm always reminded of a cartoon that I used to watch when I was a kid, Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har. When Lippy the Lion was in a jam, he was always, okay, I'm gonna turn left and leave. So he can do the Lippy the Lion and exit. Say, no, they didn't attack any American vessels. The problem is, as far as we know, there were 2 missiles that were sent as a warning against an American destroyer earlier today. They did not attack this destroyer. They sent 2 missiles as a warning. And they were very, very clear. So this, we still don't have a direct hit against an American vessel and no American victims. So from Trump's point of view, he can say, okay, this is not us. It's the UAE. And obviously, he doesn't care about the vessels, as we all know. This is one possibility. Considering, Mario, the most important thing, he needs to arrive in China with some measure of credibility about the whole debacle for the past.
When is that meeting? In 10 days or so? When is it?
Yeah, it's next week. It starts Thursday next week in Beijing.
Okay.
So, he only has 10 days to get some sort of normalcy, because it's going to be very tough, this dialogue with Xi Jinping, especially now that Chinese, basically, according to Chinese law, they are forcing their companies to not comply with anything the Americans say. This is illegal in terms of Chinese law. So they don't care. They don't care about secondary sanctions. Yeah, they don't care. Yeah. This is very important. The Chinese, they could have done this before. Why they are doing it now? It's another card on the table. Only a few days before the summit. Of course, it's only a few days before the summit. So you're going to go after our refineries. From our point of view, that's illegal. Nobody is going to comply with your sanctions. So once again, they amputated Trump even before he boards the plane. So Iran, we all know Iran. We all know that Iran for China is a matter of national security, is immensely important for zillions of reasons. Strategic partnership, the deal that they made, the famous 25-year, $400 billion deal, energy for infrastructure, one of their top sources of gas and oil as well. Oil more Saudi Arabia, but Iran also substantially. Iran was exporting 95% more or less of their oil to Iran, and only the rest for other Asian customers. And of course, the Politburo and Xi know that this is a war indirectly so far against China. It's against Iran, but where is this one?
That's the South Korean vessel.
That's the South. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was struck today as well.
Mm-hmm.
So oil is stabilizing at above $105.
So we can assume that these guys did not ask for IRGC Navy permission if they were hit.
Yeah, exactly. That might have been part of the U.S. Operation Freedom to to facilitate ships to go through. Can I ask you, just as you brought it up already, so the U.S. sanctioned 5 Chinese refineries. China's response, for the first time ever, a formal legal order declaring those sanctions null and void inside China and prohibiting Chinese companies from complying with them. This is the first time China has ever formally activated its blocking rules, a legal mechanism it created in 2021, especially for this moment. So banks, shippers, and multinationals operating in China now face 2 contradictory legal obligations simultaneously: obey Washington or obey Beijing. So that's the first time they do this, and
they will obey Beijing because it's Chinese law, Mario. This is very, very serious. And that's it. And Beijing is basically saying to all these refiners, we got your back. Don't worry. Whatever happens, you're going to be protected. It's very, very simple. If you don't use the American banking system, they cannot be hit. It's very, very simple. And we are going towards a bifurcation of the international settlement systems everywhere. It's inevitable. With China, with Russia, with Iran. Let's see what the bloody BRICS are going to discuss this year. I'm not putting any faith on it, but this should be at the top of the BRICS deliberations. There's going to be a BRICS foreign minister meeting this month in 2 weeks or so in India. they will have to discuss that. Look, we have to accelerate our alternative payment system. And that's it. For everybody else, if you're using the Chinese payment system, CIPS, China International Payment System, that's it. You're outside of SWIFT. You're outside of the international American controlled system, and that's it. There's not much they can do against you.
Why is the US so quiet? It's been a while now since the attacks on the UAE. It's been 2 hours. Are they just trying to calculate what to do next?
Exactly. You bet. That's exactly what they're doing. And obviously, there is dissent, even among those extreme mediocrity surrounding Trump, but there is dissent. I'm sure Vance is trying to say, look, let's not get deeper than we already are, because then we won't be able to extricate ourselves. We still have a chance to extricate ourselves now. They do. It's very simple. They just keep this blockade for Hollywood reasons. Let's put it this way. It's not enforcing much.
Jesus
and
Christ,
they tell the Iranians through their back channels, that would be the Pakistanis, look, we're not really enforcing it. So let's not talk about it anymore. This would be an off-ramp. But once again, Mario, we are talking about a guy with an ego the size of the Milky Way. It's all about ego. Yeah.
So just quickly recap for the audience. So me and Pepe came on. So when we came on, there was the Operation Freedom yesterday. The US will facilitate passage for ships through the Strait of Hormuz. 2 American warships went through. Iran fired 2 missiles as a warning. None of them struck, according to the Iranians said initially it struck, then they said it didn't. Americans said it didn't. So warning shots were fired at these ships, and then Iran fired. There was an alert here in the UAE. I got it early this morning as I went live. Iran fired Sharjah port. There was not at the port itself. There was a ship near the Sharjah port, and a UAE vessel. They also struck another one near the Omani port, a UAE vessel owned by Adnan. I think it's Adnan. And then while we're doing live, 3 more alerts came in, and they struck the Fujairah oil plant, the oil refinery. They also struck the allegedly struck another vessel in Sharjah as well. These are the 2 targets that were struck. And now there's another report here of a vessel is on fire 14 nautical miles west of Mina Sakar, UAE, according to UK MTO, citing a third party. So that could be the other target. They've struck 3 UAE vessels. Wow. So that's what happened. We're analyzing right now what that means, how the US could respond. In the US, I did a post saying the silence is deafening. Trump did not expect this.
It is deafening.
Yeah, it says.
Because we are at an inflection point exactly today where they can seize the opportunity of an off-ramp saying, look, we are not being attacked. What's being attacked is the UAE and some of their ships. This has nothing to do with us. Or they, yes, go ahead.
One.
Another one.
I just got the alert.
Or they can say, or they can go all the way, and then it's total escalation, then it's hell. Which, considering that he's looking for an off-ramp desperately, and considering the summit with Xi in Beijing next week, would be the worst possible decision. But we never know. We know who we are dealing, all of us who are dealing with, right? A profoundly unstable character, more and more unstable, under pressure. And if he has obviously he doesn't have the quality of self-reflection. Everything was provoked by his own decisions. You cannot escape. When you wake up in the morning and you look at the mirror, you know that you did it to yourself and to your country and to everybody else. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just got another warning. It came on my other phone, this one, not this one. So I got 2 phones. Due to the current potential situation. So I don't know if that's a delayed warning. No, it's not. It's another warning.
It's another warning. Yeah, okay. I'm getting a lot of images from Fujairah. It's quite something.
This screenshot should be like today's day. 3 warnings in the UAE. That's like
Right.
wartime. Warning, warning, warning.
Yeah,
Due
one
to the
warning
current situation,
after another.
potential missile threats, immediately save place, close secure buildings, steer away from windows, doors, and open areas, await further instructions. They've been also a lot more active in their warnings because these attacks they're not targeting the city. They're targeting the port and the vessels. So it's very different targets to what we saw throughout the war, but the warnings are coming in nonetheless.
But Fujairah is a strategic target for Iran.
Very important one.
They hit Fujairah during the war, and now they're back. And of course, once again, this is a message. They're basically telling the Emirates, are you sure what you're doing? Are you aligned with the US and Israel for another attack against us? You're going to pay a price that you simply cannot afford. I'm not sure MBZ is going to get a message as well. That's another one with an ego the size of the Milky Way.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I'm just thinking how the UAE could respond to this.
They can't. Anything they do, the counter response is going to be even more hardcore. If the UAE bombs anywhere in Iran, they're toast. Literally. Literally. And I'm not being hyperbolic. And they know it. Because for the Iranians, it's cumulative. They know everything that UAE did during the war. But once again, Mario, it's very impressive, the consistency of the Iranian position. And it's all across the deciding circles. And directly the final approval for all those 14 points, which then became 3 that was sent to the Americans by the Pakistanis, came from Mojtaba Khamenei. This means that he is deciding it. And Putin said that at least twice when he met with Arakshi. First, he said that he had received the week before a written letter by Mojtaba Khamenei delivered the analog way. And he also, he offered paid his respects and all that, and Iran is fighting with independence and sovereignty, Putin's words, and under the command of the supreme leader. So this coming from the big bear himself is quite something. And this means that there is direct contact at the highest level. So if Trump would know, I would say, the rudiments of diplomacy, he could use this for himself. In fact, he could use Putin to be the perfect middleman to find the off-ramp. Putin did not explicitly offer him.
This is ridiculous. That's the other phone. Yeah.
Another warning, right?
No, it's the same warning. I think, there was a bit of a delay between the two. It's the same one from 5 minutes ago. What do you think Putin's... So do you think the meetings with Putin and obviously communication with China are playing a role? Earlier, a crude oil tanker belonging to ADNOC has been struck by 2 Iranian drones off the coast of Oman. That's the one we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's the one at the ADNOC tanker. Exactly.
ADNOC one. Yeah, exactly. Explosions of interceptions reported across the UAE. Wow, it hasn't stopped yet. It hasn't stopped.
And it's early, Mario. This is just the beginning, and this could go all night long if they want. So that's the point. Once again, coming back to the big picture. So we are not too lost in the mini details. The only opportunity Trump has for a decent off-ramp is if he listens to Putin. Because Putin can talk to him and can talk to Mojtaba Khamenei directly. And maybe try to find some measure. There's nobody else that will. The Pakistanis cannot do that. They don't have enough leeway for that kind of negotiation. And apparently he's not taking it. He's not taking it. He got practically an offer on the table. Let me try to help you. Putin was basically saying to him, let me try to help you. Don't do anything stupid, which is what he did with this blockade. This guy's that humanitarian. Only fools are fall for that. Come on.
Brent crude is up to $119.
I told you it was going to be 120 soon. In the next hour. In the next hour or so. Yeah.
That is crazy. That is crazy how fast things escalated. And it just shows that Iran is just so different. How far do you think they can attack? It is just bizarre. So they're betting that Trump would not respond if they attack the UAE. That's what they're betting on.
The thing is, Mario, they don't bet on what the Americans do because, to start with, they understand the volatility of the character in question. So they have to be prepared for 3, 4, 5, 6 different scenarios for every particular issue. That's a lot of work. And that implies that the coordination in the deciding circles in Tehran is, wow, it's extremely impressive. I was talking about this with an Iranian friend. I just gave an interview to an Iranian media. Probably they're going to replay it on Iranian national TV. But before that, I was talking to him, and he said, yes, it's very well concerted, and they are all thinking alike. So all this propaganda about their splits on the top, this is total bullshit. And especially when you can implement something so complex like this from one day to another, their reaction to the Project Freedom, that's the official name of the thing, they reacted a few hours later with their own blockade. This means that they know that they have the means to implement this blockade. Of course they can. They have enough of their navy, all the missiles, and of course they know these waters very, very well on both sides. So they can implement it. And this is a real blockade against the Americas inside Hormuz and parts of the Persian Gulf, and a blockade of the UAE at the same time. It's a very, very sophisticated operation.
The operation should have been called Operation Let's Screw the UAE. Like Trump. It's insane. UAE confirms 3 Indians were injured in the Iranian attack on the Fujairah oil industry zone. Yeah, so why did they attack Kuwait and Bahrain? Because they're also been pretty hostile towards Iran. Is it possible that, because there was reports yesterday that the US was potentially looking at using their base in the UAE for the Operation Freedom, their base in, let me see where it is here. Hold on. Project Freedom.
Well, you cannot use anything because the base is practically destroyed, the whole thing.
In Dafra, they have a few Hornets.
Apparently, Dafra is not completely destroyed. It was hit, but not completely destroyed. If they use Dafra, the UAE is going to pay the price. Very simple.
All right, so what should we be on lookout for now? Let's see how this goes. What should we be watching out for? Obviously, the statement from the US, what the rhetoric would be like. If the US wants to conduct a strike, so if the US makes a warning or a statement, would they, if they plan to attack, to respond militarily, would they do that before putting out a public statement or after, if the US wants to do it? Would it be a surprise attack in your opinion?
After. If they plan to do a counter strike, it would probably be tonight. So this is probably what they are studying it as we speak. So obviously,
and this is where the escalation trap happens. One thing leads to another.
And then we are in total escalation trap territory. For the moment, they have a chance to back off. And of course, we don't know how strong and how solid are the back channels. There are back channels. We all know that. But we don't know if the people in the back channels, they have real executive power. From the point of view of the IRGC, there are no back channels with the Americans. The back channels are diplomatic. But the people who are in control now are the IRGC. It's a military setup. So we will have to be somebody from the IRGC who also plays diplomat. Let's say it could be Kalibaf. But Kalibaf, he excluded himself from the negotiations.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's the thing is turning very fast. We still don't know the real motive. So for the moment, the head of the negotiation team is Arakshi. Arakshi is essentially a reformist. Arakshi wants some sort of deal. The IRGC, they don't want a deal. The IRGC said, no, they're going to bend to our will. And that's, well, why do they say that? Because they see it as it's what they conquered in the battlefield. So one thing is to deal with a seasoned diplomat, a guy who, smiles and knows all the protocols, etc. And the other thing is to deal with military commanders. And these guys are all heirs to the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s. All of them were in the trenches, Mario. These guys have actual war experience. So you don't mess with these people. And they know what war is. And they fought a war which at the time, remember at the time in the 80s, it was everybody against Iran. Literally. And all the Arabs were supporting Saddam. And they managed to survive. Well, I have a collection of insects flying around.
Where you are now. So just another quick point there. What does that mean for the negotiations, this attack? Do you think they'll continue? Is that part of the leverage, seeing who can push the other the most? And also there's commentators on X, pro UAE commentators that are putting out statements. Tonight will be a tough night for Iran. Iran will regret this. There is no way the UAE will attack Iran without American support.
They do their toast. It's very simple. If they do their toast.
But they wouldn't. Pragmatically, they wouldn't.
From a strictly military point of view,
Iran's Supreme National Security Council is holding a limited meeting at an undisclosed secure location. Just came in now as well.
Exactly. So obviously now the Iranians are discussing. Okay, let's assume the UAE attacks us tonight. So that's it. They'll go for broke, totally. And they already said that over and over again. They're not improvising anything. And all these scenarios were gamed. And that's the difference with the Americans. The Americans didn't game anything. Everything is spur of the moment. I'm going to blockade something. How? It costs a fortune to implement this blockade. Literally.
Is it possible that Iran is trying to they've decided? So I've got another theory for you. Iran met Russia. They spoke to China, which is supplying them weapons. Russia and China are like, we're going to support you. Don't give up. Don't concede anything. And if it goes back to war, so be it. We'll support you throughout the war more than we did before. And Iran right now is doing what it knows will lead to a continuation of the war instead of conceding. So the US knows there will be no concessions. So Trump walks away.
But essentially, your hypothesis is correct. But there's one very important detail. It's not that Iran ever thought about conceding anything. The negotiations from the beginning, they were very strict. If you follow the negotiations, even before Islamabad won, their points are essentially the same. And what they did last week, in fact, is that they inverted the order completely. Now it's not the nuclear dossier the most important issue, because this is something that they learned throughout the war, reflecting upon it during the ceasefire. And for them, the most important thing is to end the war and the wars as a whole, against the axis of resistance as a whole. That's where Hezbollah comes in, militias in Iraq, Yemen, everybody. Strait of Hormuz, okay, we will discuss it. We're already discussing with Oman. We can discuss with other people. And third, back of the list is the nuclear dossier, which is a detail for them. And for them, it was always a detail. They have a civilian nuclear program, which they want to keep. But you want to discuss about where we're going to store our enriched uranium. Okay, we can discuss about that. But that's it. So they do not deviate from the basic principles, the basic strategy, what they have been sending to the Americans via the Pakistanis. If you follow these past 2-3 weeks, it's all there. It's very consistent. They don't improvise. They don't come up with no, it's all there. But this is how a true diplomatic negotiation happens. I remember during the JCPOA in 2015, it was a real diplomatic negotiation, even if they were like, of course. And Zarif one night, he was basically saying, I'm getting out of here. It's impossible. We cannot do anything with these people. So he came to fracture right in the middle of the negotiation. But there were diplomatic negotiations, and the people who were there, President Lavrov was playing a very important role. Lavrov was trying to bridge the gap between Kerry and Zarif. So this was a real diplomatic negotiation, at least. Now we don't have anything, Mario. We have two stupid real estate developers sent as diplomats. Come on, it's a joke. Who don't know anything about the technical dossiers, which are very, very complex. Nothing. So we have the United States now is averse to diplomacy. How can you possibly get a diplomatic result of negotiations? Negotiations, in Trump's mind, is you have to do what I tell you, otherwise I'll bomb you. This is his notion of diplomacy. The Russians know that, but the Russians learn how to dribble. The Chinese know that, but the Chinese now are reacting on the spot. And the Iranians also know that. But they say, look, let's try a diplomatic approach. If it doesn't work, we don't care, because we gamed all the military scenarios. And looking at what they achieved in the first 50 days of the war, it's a very bad bet, to bet against.
Such a terrible war. Such a terrible war. I cannot.
Absolutely horrible. Look,
you've seen the munitions, the munition stockpiles, the destruction of the American base. You've seen the CNN report. We haven't spoken in a couple of weeks.
Yes,
you saw the CNN report.
Yes, but everything was censored, Mario. If you were following good sources in Iran, they were not lying. They said, look, we cannot show you images because you don't have it, but these bases were destroyed. So it takes CNN to basically prove what everybody in the region already knew. And the worst part, we have to come back to it, the price that Iran paid for it, the devastation across Iran was horrible. Really, it's going to take years and a lot of investment to put it all back together. But you have to pay a price. This is the logic of resistance fighting everywhere. History shows us you have to pay an enormous price, but then you get the dividends in the end if you know how to resist. So in the modern era, Vietnam taught all of us, how do you resist and how do you rebuild afterwards. My generation, for instance, we were in college during the Vietnam era, and we were all absolutely appalled and impotent, but at the same time we could understand what they were doing. That's why the Vietnamese were so popular in colleges all over the world at the time. Young people could understand what they were doing in terms of resistance. It's very, very hardcore, and the Iranians are doing the same thing now. Why do you have youth all over the global south, especially supporting Iran? They understand instinctively what they're doing. It's not a matter of agreeing with their government or not. This is non-ideological. It's the basis of applying sovereignty and organizing your resistance against an immensely destructive power. wow, this is something for the history books for a long time.
The vice president of Iran, Reza Aref, we are not seeking war, but we will respond firmly if it is imposed on us. So this seems to be a big personal strike against the UAE. I don't know whether it's personal against the UAE or asymmetric warfare against the US or a response to the blockade, part of the asymmetric warfare, or all of the above. This is personal against the UAE and a response to the blockade by the US.
It's a mix of everything, Mario, absolutely. But the emphasis now is to send a message to the UAE. Think carefully about your next steps.
A couple more questions, Pepe.
Sure.
First one is, how would a response from the US look like? Would it be a decapitation strike? Would it be destroying their missile launchers? How extensive would it be, considering their depletion of their munitions, in your opinion? And obviously, they don't want to. I think also the US response to strikes could also be symbolic, because I don't think the US want to see gloves off on the Iranian side. The destruction. Okay, wow. An Emirati source tells CNN the UAE expects US Israeli attack on Iran in the next 24 hours.
Totally predictable. Absolutely. Once again, Mario, they have two options. Let's say a symbolic strike against Iran, which of course will be announced through the back channels before. If they go all out, and very, very important, these were all gamed and presented by the Joint Chiefs and CENTCOM last Thursday, last Thursday when they met with Trump. They presented really highway to hell scenarios, including all of the above: decapitation, mini shock and awe, attacks against a civilian infrastructure, power plants, you name it. But if they do that, then we are in, as our German friends will say, totalen Krieg all over again. Then it's total war. And then Iran will go total war against the US. And that includes sinking an aircraft carrier, which will be their trophy to show the whole planet, look, we can do it. And that's the final humiliation. Does Trump want that? Apparently not. According to our friends in Washington, he's terrified of anything that implies lots of body bags coming back to the US.
Do you think if they have the opportunity, they will kill Mujtaba Khamenei, considering that Iran will probably respond very aggressively?
They don't know where he is, Mario. That's the thing. Khamenei was very easy to locate. Mujtaba is mega protected. All the communications are analog. All of them. Nobody knows where he is. So it's impossible to find him. They have to do something. Of course, they have to do something like this.
And there is no way they cannot respond militarily. There is, considering the extent of the attack, and obviously the UAE's gotten close to the US and Israel in terms of alliance.
They have to, yes.
They have to respond militarily.
Exactly. They have to do something, but it's probably what they're going to discuss tonight. Yeah, it's too early in the US now. Yeah. This afternoon. Yeah. Okay, how can we? Well, it's going to be another typical tweaking of narrative operation, and with a Hollywoodish tinge, with lots of special effects, but not really dangerous to Iran. But they have to tell the Iranians first that this is going to happen. This would be a possible off-ramp.
That would be a possible off-ramp for who?
Yeah. For the US at the moment. And they can spin that, look, there's no attacks against us, only against the UAE, so we had to respond, etc. The real trick is what they were planning to do with the Project Freedom on Netflix crap. A trap. So Iran would hit a destroyer or two with missiles, and then casus belli. Perfect. But once again, as we were talking at the beginning of our conversation, the Iranians are not going to fall for that. And that's why they're hitting the UAE today. It's much better and fulfills their target list.
How likely are we to get back to a full-blown war?
Oh, shit. Well, we will hope it's not going to happen, Mario, but as it stands, it doesn't look good.
Would it be worse than what we've seen before?
Many of our friends, analysts, they're Americans especially, they are sure that the war is going to be back. We cannot say that at the moment. I prefer to see long term because I have to see how this is playing inside Trump's psyche, and he has to have something tangible when he sits with Xi next week. He cannot go there in the middle of a war with no way out. Even someone like him who doesn't think strategically has to think about these repercussions.
Just got a report now, unconfirmed. Missile launches from Iran again. Unconfirmed, just came in now.
Okay, so
They're
that's
not stopping.
No, it's not stopping, exactly. So UAE is the target, which was.
I haven't gotten an alert, so we'll see if this is maybe one of the ships as well. Israel just said we are closely monitoring the Gulf, the developments in the Gulf. They just made a statement now.
It's crazy. We're talking about all this dementia, and I am in an island in the Andaman Sea, you know, in an absolutely amazing place.
Different world.
A different world where
Iranian ballistic missiles, they've actually launched more reports of ballistic missiles launched from the south.
So that's it, Mario. I think it's absolutely. It's
why are they stopping? Why are they stopping? That is significant response.
They are stopping or no?
They are not. No, new missile launches reports. Two sources now. Did you see any reports here on your end?
Everywhere that I see here is images of Fujairah. Okay, Iranian ballistic missiles. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Iranian ballistic missile launches from the south.
Wow, an Iranian analyst just said if Trump wishes to restart the war, Iran will not wait for him to initiate it this time.
It's something
so now Iran is becoming more preemptive.
Yes, it's something that they had been saying this past few days, Mario. From the IRGC and from politicians, from members of the parliament, they have been saying that. So there is a consensus. The moment they are sure that the Americans are going to restart the war, they are all in. They're not going to wait. This is what they have been saying. So this means that this mini offensive against UAE is part of it as well.
There's an Iranian official that said the plans to attack just now, the plans to attack the UAE. He told IRIB that Tehran had no initial plans to attack the UAE. So it seems that this has only come up now with the Operation Freedom.
Absolutely. This is it was part of our conversation. This is their first reaction to Operation Humanitarian whatever. Absolutely.
Humanitarian whatever.
Exactly.
Wow.
But what do they do? First of all, they release a map. You look at the map and you see, wow, everything now is blocked. It's not only Hormuz, Kashmir, everything, and all the UAE ports are blocked. So this was the first stage of the response. Second stage is what we're watching now, the missiles.
Pepe, can I ask you a couple more questions? I know I went over time already.
Of course.
Okay, so why isn't Iran just firing one missile? Why so extensive? Why is not were they firing now more missiles?
I don't have the elements now to answer your question. I will need some more time to check what they are launching, for how long, what kind of missiles.
what they are saying as well.
It's too early for us to tell if this is just a warning or a message, a warning, or if this is something much more solid, like a real offensive. Okay, we're going to disable the UAE. It doesn't look like it for the moment. It looks more like a message.
Well, Pepe, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm sure I'm going to have you again soon as this continues to escalate. Always good to have those conversations. I'll ask you to go for a walk, breathe, kind of go back to reality, breathe a breath of fresh air in the peaceful place you were in.
Exactly. The pool is right behind me calling.
Thank you so much, Pepe. I appreciate it.
Next week I'll be in China, so we can talk.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was going to ask you if you're going to be there to cover the meeting between Xi and Trump.
I'm going next Tuesday to China, so we can talk maybe later in the week.
Just by the way, I'll 100%. Just Iran just released, the US has officially released its guidance for commercial vessels as part of Project Freedom. Try to sail close to the coast of Oman and see if it works. That's what the team summarized it.
I love it. Look, if you're lucky and if you are in Omani territorial waters, nothing's going to happen to you.
Yeah, they're asking to go through Omani's waters. Yeah.
And best of luck.
No, so that was that. The Americans didn't write this. It was just my team just joking in the DMs. Vessels choosing to transit the Strait of Hormuz should consider routing via Oman territorial waters south of the traffic separation scheme. Due to anticipated traffic volume, coordination with Oman authorities via VHF Channel 16 is advised to maintain safety of navigation. Transit via or in close proximity to the traffic separation scheme should be considered extremely hazardous due to presence of mines and have not been fully surveyed and mitigated. Operators are encouraged to carefully review risk assessments on routing ahead of transit. They're saying there's mines openly, and be careful of mines.
Well, it's pretty obvious, Mario, isn't it? Omani territorial waters, everybody knew that.
That was open. Yeah, but I thought they said they were demining it. Obviously, not much has been demined.
No, they cannot demine it because they cannot get there, Mario. They can't get there. American vessels, military vessels cannot get to the Strait of Hormuz, period. It's just spin. It will be demined by the Iranians themselves later. So for the moment, there's only one plan B. Stick very close to your Omani territorial waters. Treat them well, get a permit, get their message on VHF. Best of luck. That's it. There's nothing else we can do to protect you.
But they did that. They sent that announcement despite the attacks on the UAE. It seems the US is not blinking.
Not blinking, meaning the operation project humanitarian.
Humanitarian freedom, Project Freedom.
Yes, just like the original blockade. Nobody's even talking about the original blockade anymore. It's still there, apparently.
Yeah. That's surprising they put out that announcement literally after the attacks on the UAE. We haven't had an alert here on the missiles fired from southern Iran, so we don't know where they're heading yet. Or whether they've been intercepted, or whether they weren't fired false alarm, or they're heading to a different direction, maybe one of the ships. But yeah, Pepe, look, I appreciate you staying overtime. Thank you as always.
Of course. Take care, man, and be careful. You are in Dubai. You are in a war zone, by the way.
In theory.
All right,
thank you, Pepe. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.